Welcome to the FOURJACK Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 4 of the FOURJACK Podcast, Canada's #1 award-winning golf podcast and the fastest-growing golf podcast in America. Available on SiriusXM, Pandora, Apple Music, and Spotify, all your favorite streaming platforms. The FOURJACK Podcast is powered by none other than TaylorMade Golf. Their engineers have been hard at work making the next generation of equipment, and their new lineup for 2022 is absolute fire. Available now, head over to TaylorMade Golf and check out the all-new Carbon Face Stealth and Stealth Plus and experience better energy transfer for yourself. TaylorMade has also been very generous with us this year. We have a shipping container full of goodies to give away. Keep your eyes on the FOURJACK Instagram page for all the contest details. We would also like to thank multiple FOURJACK Premier partners. Without their support, the show would not be possible. Therabody Cricket Shirts, Peretti Golf, Galvin Green, DraftKings, Manscaped, and to wash that all down, our favorite ready-to-drink on-course beverage from our friends over at Farm League Brewing, Birdie Juice. Season 4 continues to impress with a laundry list of amazing guests boasting some serious industry horsepower. But before we get into tonight's guest, let's head around the country and check in with a FOURJACK family on the road. D-Lane, what's happening in SoCal today?
Well, it's nice to be back. Good weekend. Actually, what am I saying? It was an absolutely unbelievable weekend. It was a blast. Congaree is rapidly becoming my happy place in the world, and they do such a great job there. I just had a blast, but it was a long travel day yesterday, east to west. Is a little easier than west to east, but it was nice to get home. In a rare occurrence last night, my bag went on the plane before me. So when I got off the plane, all I had to do was go to baggage claim. It was already there, so I didn't have to wait for the carousel. So that kind of accelerated the evening a little bit, which I desperately needed. I went from 8% recovery on the Whoop to 94% recovery on the Whoop. So our guest had a big part in that, I don't know any other way to say that, but I guess when you're as good looking as he is, that there's always people buying you alcohol. So it is what it is. That being said, it was just great to be back. I had a good day at work today, but excited to get home to the Peloton because I had to flush a lot of shit out of my body over the last 4 days. So I'm pretty excited to be full of sweat and talking to you guys.
All right. Clean living. We're on the road to recovery. I like that. Brisson, what's going on in Toronto?
Well, Derek had a great travel day on Monday. I, on the other hand, last Thursday and Friday had 19 different changes to my flights in my 24 hours. Wow. And just learned this evening that I got myself, my children, my partner, we all got COVID.
Yes.
So it's a great day to be in Canada, Ontario. 4 hours ago, we learned that we're all whatever it is positive. No. And life's interesting. So
oh my God.
Life goes on. But Derek traveled well yesterday.
I'm good. so sorry to hear that, dude. That really sucks.
Yeah.
We're gonna skirt the COVID talk. So without further ado, the FOURJACK Podcast is very proud to welcome one of Big Loud Music's VPs. This man is a Swiss Army knife when it comes to managing talent and opportunity in the music space. Mega golf guy, husband, father, and $1 million smile to match. This gem of a human being has been very instrumental in procuring some of our superstar artists that we've had on the show. And our relationship has grown into a capacity that we could almost consider him family. Almost. Today, the tables have turned and it's his time to shine. A very warm welcome to the legend that is Mr. Paul Logan. Welcome to the show.
How are we doing, boys? I mean, it's you talked better about me than I think my wife has ever talked about me, Parksy. That was great.
I got a check in the mail earlier today, so I changed everything I was going to say. So shout out to your wife for that one.
Yeah, appreciate that. We'll see if she actually ends up listening to this, but
I like that. Truth and honesty right out of the gate. You're a special person.
Well, so, it's an honor to be on, and you guys have been so good to us at Big Loud, and I've enjoyed many podcast episodes driving into work in the morning and hearing you roast or toast us. It's always fun to find out.
Let's stop. What happened there?
I don't know.
That was funky.
Yeah,
what happened?
When you lifted your mic, Park, something happened.
Yeah, and when you pull it away, Chris, it's definitely stuttering when you pull it away.
Was it mine on my side?
Yeah, it was.
When you moved, everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll just edit this out.
We'll try this again. Paul, you're just going to have to give your warm intro again here. I'll just say a very warm welcome to the legend that is Mr. Paul Logan. I'll hit the applause and you can say your intro piece again. Technical difficulties. All right, guys. 3, 2, 1. A very warm welcome to the legend that is Mr. Paul Logan. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Parksy, I don't know if my wife has ever talked to me that nicely, so thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Hey man, listen, there was a check in the mail, a little bit of cash on the side, so I'm happy to switch up what I was going to say, all the mean things. But man, it's an absolute pleasure to have you, and we're excited to dive into your interrogation today.
I'm excited. There's been many mornings driving into work where I've had your episode on, and you guys have been kind to sometimes toast, but mostly roast me. So it's nice to finally be on and chop it up with you fellas.
Well, we only roast those we love. So
yes,
obviously
yes.
You wear it heavy. The center of the universe wears it heavy in Tirana. And most importantly, I think that we've all decided that now that Parksy's back on the other side of the border, we can kind of go after him now, as we don't have to really worry about him taking care of other people's restaurants and everything else. So I think Parksy's back to being free game.
Yeah, I don't like that. The bullseye's back on the back here again. So let's turn our attention to our guest this evening, shall we? Paul, you've come off this like amazing golf experience. Let's dive into that real quick. We posted some stuff on our Instagram page. You and Derek, Austin, Hardy out at Congaree. Just walk us through that whole experience.
Yeah, I mean, a huge thank you to Derek, who's one of the very few ambassadors that Congaree invites to go play that very special place. We're not sure how someone of Derek's character is actually invited, but he invited us, so all is forgiven. But it is like Pinehurst meets Augusta. It is truly the hardest golf course I have ever played, and I'm walking with a limp from it. It was brutal, and Derek and I both wear the Whoop fitness bands, and let's just say our numbers were in the red, which is not good for anyone who does not have one.
Want to give us some insight into what that means? Was there some adult beverages being consumed on the court?
One or two. You don't want to be rude. I mean, they have them there, so you don't want to be rude.
Southern hospitality means something,
yes.
Doesn't it, Paul?
Yes. But yeah, Derek extended an invite to me and our COO Austin and one of our fantastic golfing artists, Hardy. And other than me accidentally booking this trip Mother's Day weekend, which shout out to my amazing wife who didn't slash my tires for this, and Austin's wife as well. But that won't be happening again. But yeah, it was a really good test of golf. Everyone there treated us like royalty. I think Derek mentioned on Sunday's episode, we got to hang with a Masters winner, which was pretty exciting. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of have a man crush on him and his swing. It's gorgeous. You could probably figure out who I'm talking about. But Brisson, you'll be happy to know I was decked out in cricket. Shout out to the
top to bottom
sponsor of the show. But yeah, it was a very humbling golf course. It was actually kind of nice to see Derek, who's this good looking scratch golfer, get brought to his knees on several occasions. Hopefully you guys will share some of that video content I sent you.
I saw
that was something. Yeah, I mean, there's something, and he's not lying. Obviously, Congaree is a great ode to Pinehurst, and Tom did a great job with it, but it is hard. It is really effing hard. As I said, when we was in the airport yesterday, the rating's off the charts, but the golf course doesn't give you anything. So perfect example, there's a video that we'll put out that Big Loud produced. As I say to Paul, it's a produced video because all of the missed shots happen to be somewhere in there, but it's funny. I didn't see any of Paul's missed shots. So I'm not sure how the Nashville Ken doll always escapes this stuff. I don't get it. It's funny, but yeah, I had a pitch mark that was about 14 feet from the hole on the first par 5, the hole number 5, which covers water, flags back left on a tier. It's one of the few golf balls that made a pitch mark in the entire time we were there in 54 holes. And it decided not only to spin back, but it spun back down into the water. So I decided I was going to go down into the weeds and try and, just on the edge of the water and hit it. And I damn near pulled a Woody Austin and went backwards into the water.
I saw
and don't think for a second that there's not a little bit of vitriol on my part. The fact that Paul comes out of that video looking exactly like Tom Brady does in every parade he's in. And Austin and I look like absolute mules. I don't necessarily think that's great. So
it was all done. It was all done in post. I made sure that Congaree has yet to approve it. I'm not sure the world needs to see Paul winning all of the time and Austin and I just bringing up the rear. But the one thing we do have to talk about is Hardy's got game and Hardy's long. Like when he has on and he's talking about the high school golfer, he's not lying. I mean, he got fit, as we talked about, in a new set of golf clubs, and dude is long, and Paul hits it square every time. Austin's equally long. Obviously, I think I can hit a few fairways now and then, but it's like it's hard because the golf course just wears you down to a nub. There's really no other way to say that. There's not one hole where there's let up, even on the 2 drivable par 4s. So think about that. A golf course can play at 8,000 yards for the tour players, and 2 holes are drivable for them. So it's like that tells you about the rest of the golf course. But it's just such a fantastic place. And I'm obviously a little bit with a man crush on it because it's just so special in the way that they treat people. But the thing that I think that was the most fun was not only getting to know an artist and getting to know the label with Austin and Paul, but the way they treat people as well. And one of the reasons on the show tonight, and he's obviously a close friend of all of ours, is the simple fact that I think there's a consistency in that thought process. And I think that all of those that were at Congaree were very receptive to that because I think they're very open to who they are. And they discussed a lot of what it is because it is an interesting dynamic. So you've got the COO playing golf with one of their artists, you always have to kind of pump that person up. So what I really noticed is that we were all very conscious when Hardy had a bad hole. There was a lot of love. There was a lot of attention. There was a lot of looking for golf balls because we wanted to make sure that we ebbed and flowed in this wonderful kind of dynamic that is artist and label. But it was a pretty cool weekend. And I think the 3 of them are what made it such. Yeah, it was funny that you guys always seem to help Hardy find his ball, but never when it was me.
That's what I was looking for.
But no, Derek's right. It was hard. There was one hole that Hardy hit the green with his approach shot, and we got up there. It was 70 yards down a slope to the right, and now he's got a 70-yard lob wedge off a tight lie back up the hill. I mean, it just consistently steps on your neck. And again, I got some sick pleasure out of watching Derek get it taken to him on several occasions because he's just such an amazing golfer. And let's be honest, he has calves that would make Phil Mickelson blush. And there were times he had to slow down. I mean, he was getting taken to him.
Wow. So I heard Team Callaway, you have to have nice calves to be part of that team, allegedly. So
there you go. There's a prerequisite for signing the paperwork. Paul, I got to say, Team TaylorMade was out there in full force, right? We had a couple drivers out there. You guys were swinging some decent wrenches.
Well, I mean, you guys are good to us. A great sponsor of the show. And
Derek.
Yeah.
Austin was full of TaylorMade. Austin had a great time. He was TaylorMade head to toe. So yeah, they were very well represented. I will tell you, there were more Theraguns than sets of TaylorMades. There were definitely more cricket shirts than sets of TaylorMades. There was definitely a couple more disruptive drinkware, pieceware than TaylorMades. And we don't even have to cease and desist on all of the things that are what we drink out of. So it is what it is.
I like this. I'm assuming Austin's going to be swinging Callaway in the next couple of weeks. So we can put that one to bed. Love that you just laid out all our sponsorship. Manscaped did Manscaped make an appearance at all? We missed that.
Prior to their Paul was absolutely Manscaped. There's no question about that.
That was the gift for Mother's Day for Paul.
Correct. Yeah.
The takeaway gift.
Within silky.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was rather uncomfortable as he was getting ready to pour to go back to Nashville with just use completely. I mean, it was as smooth as, a Jaguar's fur. So it was awesome. Wow. And, I'm sure that we keep talking about it as well. I'm sure that it was a really good reunion on Monday.
Yeah, she pretty much hates my guts for life, but
you're not even at home tonight, Paul, are you?
Yeah.
You have keys still to the house or?
I hope so. I mean, surprisingly, the door was my key worked when I got home. But to go back, we have to talk about the shot of the weekend Derek holed out for an eagle 2 on a par 4. Derek, take us through that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's 2 holes out there that I've now played a bunch of rounds on. And I've not hit the fairway yet, which is for me hard to admit because I don't miss a lot of them because that's all I've got. And I hit a tree and it bounced right into the fairway. And the rest of these guys were over, they were left long, whatever, they were out of the hole and they were watching. 2 of them were going to the bathroom when it happened. And literally I hit a shot wedge. It was online, didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden I just hear Hardy go crazy and the ball went in the hole for 2. And the other 2 guys may have been looking in the bushes and they didn't see it. Wow. But it was definitely a 2. So the next time I played it the next morning, also hit the exact same tree, bounced back in the same fairway, made 3. So I'm 3 deep on a hole where I've not even thought about not hitting a tree. So it was definitely there. And then as karma is, 2 holes later, that's when you hit a wonderful little shot into a par 3 and it spins down into the water. And by the way, it went 38 yards from the flag down into the water.
This sounds like a pretty good test of skill, patience, alcohol abuse, among others.
Really, the only test is stamina because you're going to fail the rest of them. It's just the way it is. I mean, the Masters champion who was out playing, I watched him hit a couple of golf shots and let's just say he went and redid the shot because it was not what he wanted on the first bounce. So we witnessed that a couple of times. And then he watched us hit and was also just as excited as we were to watch him hit. So it was a fair trade.
Well, because he saw your calves, Derek.
No, again, I'm not here to talk about that. You guys just go on.
Well, I did ask him at the bar. I said, how does this course compare to the other courses you play on tour? And he said, this course is effing hard, man. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Derek, you were telling me that this place plays 8,000 yards from the back. Obviously that's tipped out. A couple of drivable par 4s for the PGA Tour players at that sort of swing speed, but you guys played it pretty decent. You played at 7,000 yards or 6,800 yards, and it was still a really good testament of golf.
Yeah. And the problem that you have there is you don't know what the ball's going to do. So my issue is I don't have enough club head speed to hold a lot of the hole locations that are tucked. So all we look at is the front number. And then, we've had a great caddy in Kyle who was with us all 3 rounds. And, he steers us around. A lot of the times the sand is by far the best place because you can generate the most spin green side. So there are a lot of golf holes where a lot of these good players are trying to put a bunker, and they don't play them as bunkers. They play them, as sandy areas. But there's a lot of relief from the sand. The sand actually helps you on a lot of holes. The problem is, like every other Fazio golf course, if you're long, it's not going to be it's just not going to be well received. So that's the problem. The thing about Congaree, though, is it's very fair. But you've got to be very confident because there is no such thing. If you don't hit ball first, it's going to be a really bad shot. I mean, the firmness is very counter-like, and that's the way they have it. And it's designed to be fully Bermuda, fully shaved down, and it's that way all the time. There is no different cut. You go from that grass into long grass, and the fairways are generous. The problem is unlike most Fazios, you're just so visually intimidated that you got to be careful because everything is much like Pinehurst. It just kind of swings, right? It just kind of moves. You can hit it through fairways. You might have to go down to a 3-wood or a hybrid in some of these areas because of the amount of run you get. And, it's one of those golf courses that I think if you play it 5, 6, 7 times, I think you're going to start to get the feel. I mean, in the last round, Hardy had 3 naturals on the front. We played pretty well. I think we were starting to get that. There's definitely a difference between morning softness and afternoon firmness. First round we played was probably 25 miles an hour in the wind, and the front is far more exposed than the back. But you've got to be able to understand where your golf ball is going. And Congaree is one of those great tests of golf, much like when you're playing into the wind in some of these European golf courses, it kind of exposes all your weaknesses. So one of the great things you see a lot of amateurs love the 60-degree wedge. It's a useless golf club from 40 yards in. It's just useless. You're not going to be able to, the average player is not going to be able to pick a ball and create the spin and everything that comes off of it. It's just a useless golf club. So there's a lot of putting from areas, and you start to kind of figure out what the approaches and the aprons do. But it is a fantastically built golf course, and there's no question a major could be held there. Wouldn't you agree, Paul? Like, there's just no question. If they had the infrastructure, possibly a different location. I'm not sure that's something they'd ever look to do, but I think it would be an amazing US Open golf course.
Yeah. In fact, I said to Derek, why is this place not a well-known top 10 place? And he said, because that's not a priority to them. You know, it's about the experience, and it is an unreal experience. And what Fazio did there designing the place, I felt like he had this uncanny ability on a dog leg where the absolute safest play was just to take it right down the middle. But the way he visually sets up the hole, your body finds itself trying to cut off a little more than you should. And how many times did that get us in trouble, Derek? I mean, constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly.
If you play center and center, you're going to have a good day, right? But it doesn't set up to that. It feels as though you've got to slightly move it right to left, or you got to cut it to hold it. And he wants you to think that, but then you look back from from green to tee, and it's like, well, shit, I did that wrong. All you had to do was hit it here and hit it here. And, you know, it's one of those things where I think like David would have a really big advantage because he's got the high ball flight and hits it a long way. That's what you're looking for out there. You know, those of us that hit a little flat and kind of straight, it doesn't always lend to a great shot, because you do have to have enormous, like if Liam was on, he would be able to talk about this a lot, but you know, you definitely need that angle of descent at this golf course. And I think it's geared for bigger, stronger players is what it was designed to do. But yet it's, you know, as Paul will tell you, there's quite a few people over the age of 65 that play the golf course, and they kind of just bunt it around and have a blast, right? Because they just kind of play the angles and fit it in. So it is a golf course. And as we talked about yesterday on the recap pod, there is no tees. There are no tees. Everything is as the caddy or as the member wants to play. Now you can see where most people play between the 5 sets, but you can really do it in some of the par 5s. We've moved it back a little bit, and we had a lot of fun. But I think the overall thing too is just the fact that the golf course looks like it's been there for 100 years. And I think Mr. Friedkin and Bruce and John and Tom did this amazing job of making it feel like it is a Southern golf course that's always been. And I think as you know, we don't talk a lot about it because I know they like their privacy, but their mission with kids is the reason that we all have such a great time. And I think that's why everybody there is so open. And it is kind of funny when you're sitting with a rock star, how good your service is. I wasn't sure if Paul was the reason or
it was definitely me, Derek. Definitely.
But it's like, it is amazing how much water got filled at the meals we ate. Like, it is crazy. And every single time it was a different person pouring the water. And half the time, if you asked for sparkling or still, it didn't matter because they just stared at Hardy while they poured. So we were definitely hydrated, not only in the water, but on the other side of the world. We did not want for drinks.
Well, and what I thought was really nice is other people that were there were asking Hardy for his picture instead of me because they didn't want to bother me, which I can appreciate that.
They get really, really nervous when it's a superstar. When it's a medium level, kind of medium tier guy, Hardy, not a big deal.
Yeah.
And Paul was ready. I mean, he brought out his best tight button-down shirt. He had a really nice pair of tight shorts, really cool, kind of all white shoes.
Wow.
And it's like, I think he wanted to be in those pictures. I do believe that. But, you know, I think when Hardy left, Hardy was just like, Paul, you just sit this one out. I'll take one for the team. But that's just the kind of guy Hardy is, right? You know,
well, that's why he's on our label. I mean, he's looking out for us.
Well done. Yeah.
Derek, I gotta ask Derek, what was your favorite part of the trip that you can say?
I think my favorite part of the trip was Saturday night, because I think, as every other foolish drinking, great steak kind of night, you do bond with people. And it's one of those nights where you're sacrificing any kind of green or yellow on the whoop, and you know you're going red. So you just say, F it, we're just going to go all the way. And, you know, when you're on your third nightcap after not being able to touch your nose after leaving the facility to go back. And the problem is at Congaree is you have a full bar in your cabin, and it is complimentary to the stay. So when you're smart and you're a normal, well-adjusted human being, I'm sure that that's not a problem, but we did not fit that bill. We were definitely partaking, as you will know, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Hardy drank what we call the Hardy house, not even the halfway house. Every time Hardy got to the halfway house, he played unbelievably well in the back nine. The reason for this, he drank them out of IPA. So you know you're a rock star when you can shotgun an IPA and it doesn't bother you. And that kind of, for me, was the telltale sign for the weekend that we really had no chance of sobriety or even good choices. So we're sitting there, and I do not partake in cigars, but the other three guys do. And we're sitting on the porch and we hear something, and Hardy thought at first it was an armadillo. And then we said, no, I don't think that's what it is. And he goes, no, that's definitely some sort of coyote. Okay. All right, whatever. We're just enjoying drinks. And then all of a sudden here comes a cat, a giant cat with a collar on it. And the instincts of Hardy take over, and he grabs the cat and he just puts the cat on his lap, starts hanging out with the cat. Like he's just this Mississippi animal whisperer, and he just made it all happen. And meanwhile, at this point, I can't see anything other than fog. And I'm just like, I got to go to bed at some point. We're up soon. So we all decided, yeah, well, we get at least 5 hours. And then the owls came out and Paul got really pissy, and then it just all turned south.
I was the only one who had an owl outside his window. So that was a big part of why my Whoop recovery score was very low that next day.
Oh my God.
Hardy was picking up cats and I was strangling owls by the neck.
You guys are maniacs. Briston, you got something?
I just had a question about the golf course. I think, like, obviously you guys both played it firsthand and you read a lot of different things, but my understanding that Fazio is kind of told, go out to number 2, do what Donald Ross did, go out to Augusta National, do what Alistair McKenzie did, and go to St. Andrews and try to make, a blend of those 3 greens, St. Andrews, Pinehurst number 2 or 6, and Augusta National. Would you say that the greens and kind of, you mentioned long is dead, but would you say it's a good combo of that, or would you say it's more steered towards like number 2, or something that you see at Augusta? Walk me through kind of the process of what you feel when you're around the greens.
Well, I mean, I'll let Paul speak as well, but for somebody who was at a Fazio golf course forever, I see 3 things. I see a mixture of 2 and 4. He definitely took 2 and 4 at Pinehurst and made a lot of the same qualities. There's some of the water you get on 4. There's a lot of the movement on 2. I have to believe, and again, I'm not speaking with any knowledge, but I got to believe that Mr. Friedkin, John, and Bruce probably had Tom doing things Tom didn't want to do. I don't know that firsthand, but I was stunned at some of the movement of the golf courses and the greens. They were not Fazio-like in the classic Fazio sense of Wade Hampton or the Quarry or even Shadow Creek and some of the others, right? I think that it was very reminiscent of the Augusta feel, although there isn't a lot of similarities in Augusta other than maybe some of the shot yardages. I saw a couple of earth movement places, like there's a couple of greens that kind of have that true Fazio, Shadow Creek, Quarry feel where you can see the way he's routing you. But I think that you would have to admit, while it feels like a Pine Valley or Augusta when you come on property in the way that it looks like it's been there forever, there's a very distinct feel. I do think, more importantly, I think it's got a lot of 2 and 4 in it. I think the land lends itself. It's obviously in the sand cap. It lends itself to that feel. You do have a little St. Andrews feel around the green complexes just because there's a couple of places you can putt from 75, 80 yards. And I think that would be the only way you can probably take St. Andrews in the old course or even the new a little bit. You can feel where he's trying to say, okay, for those that can't hit that shot, he gives you an alley to putt. The problem is it's not Fazio-like in the fact that once the ball reaches the hole, it doesn't stop moving. So Tom has always found a way to get his golfers around the golf course. There's always been a few bumpers. There's no bumpers. And more importantly, you have to be very careful. And where a lot of people struggle on that golf course is that as you try to make a putt, if you don't make it, you're not going to have 18, 24 inches coming back unless you nail the speed. You're going to have 3 to 5 feet. And I think that's really where it wears you down fast. And Hardy was the first to admit, like, Hardy played that last, he only had 2-3 putts on that last round. And he was very happy with that because, I mean, he got really frustrated, especially on the front nine in that wind. There's just no way to get the ball. There's no comfortable lagging. You're on edge the entire time you're putting at that facility. And I think that's where it was really anti-Tom to me. I know there's always that runaway putt, like 6 at the Q. Wade Hampton's got a couple of those where it kind of jets back around and it kind of boomerangs and it can get away from you from front to back. But there is no safe place to putt because the cupping positions are they're insane. And the golf course is so firm, you can see the last 21 positions on each green, meaning the firmness stays. It doesn't necessarily grow, but it's so closely cropped that it has that Fazio appearance, but there are not a lot of Fazio friendly bounces.
I'm just going to make one comment, correct myself. I said number 6. I meant number 4. George Fazio designed 6.
It's definitely, Paul, wouldn't you agree? It's got a lot of 2 and 4.
Oh yeah, that was the number one thing that came to my mind was number 2. And I really enjoy my wedge game. I think it's one of the better parts of my game, but I very quickly found because of how tight or even you could even say manscaped the lies are.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that.
I get like a Venmo each time I do that.
That's
right?
$5.50 right there.
Perfect.
We just keep sending you Manscaped.
Yeah.
It's like a
Oils.
slot machine right now. We're just rolling.
Yes, but I found if I committed to the Texas wedge, the putter from off the green early in the round, you get that feel down, and it's such a safer shot. I mean, the number of times where we gambled a little bit and went with a wedge, and if you stick it, oh man, that thing's going halfway to the hole if you're lucky.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, and if you don't catch it, it goes all the way to the back. And again, once the problem is that as we were talking, once it goes past the hole, it doesn't stop rolling until it goes off the green. So you have to be, I mean, I'm not going to say Mickelson-esque, but you've got to have some really understanding of rake versus bounce and how to use it, opening the face. And like I said, the sand is far more forgiving there. It's very easy to play out of. It's very easy to get elevation. A lot of times the sandy areas are by far greenside the safest place to be, because if you've got a tight line, you got to cover something. I'm going to tell you that unless you are probably that Masters champion or a couple of the NCAA guys out there, there's not a lot of ability to stop the golf ball. And I think that's where you get it. I think we can all play to the greens at Congaree. It just takes some time to figure out where your miss should be. And then, as Paul said, once you get the feel of the surrounds and the aprons and the fairways near the green, they almost putt to the same speed. There's not a lot of dying, right? So you just have to add a little. And once you get that, you can hit some amazing. I mean, Paul and I were on the 10th hole. We both putted from low left to back right. And we both got it up and down because we'd done it enough. We kind of had some feel going on, right? Kyle gave us 2 good reads. But if we chip that ball, I don't think I can get it within 10 feet of the hole because I don't think I can stop it fast enough to do that.
What's the topography of the landscape like? Is it pretty undulating or is it pretty flat piece of property?
It's definitely in the lowlands. It's not flat. It's shaped beautifully, but it is a fantastically wonderful walk. It's shaped beautifully. He moved some stuff, but he didn't have to move a lot. But it would be the opposite. So if Tiger and Jay Day could play a golf course for their bodies, this would be a great golf course for them to play.
I like that. Speaking of Tiger and Jay Day, some interesting sort of things came to light over the past week here. Obviously, we know Tiger's playing in the PGA Championship coming up. Jay Day's rounding into form. Speaking of rounding into form, let's move into the Paul Logan portion of the podcast tonight. Let's talk about this wonderful person we have on as a guest.
I just want to jump in and just mention to our listeners that Jason Day is Parkinson's fourth for the PGA Championship.
We like to call him he's Parksy's Stewart Sink.
Yes.
There we go. Minus the hat tan, right? He's got the vest. I like that.
He lives in Ohio, so
this is
South Canada.
You heard it here first, folks. Paul, let's time travel a little bit. Let's go way back, past Congaree, past LA with the Chris Lane show and all that chaos. Let's take it all the way back to your introduction to the game of golf and who was instrumental in that, and walk us through the early years.
Yeah. So in between 2nd and 3rd grade, my family moved from California to Oregon, and that summer, just it was hard to meet a lot of kids because school wasn't in session, and by our house was a par 3 course, and I went up there with my mom one day, and that was it. I mean, I was absolutely hooked with the game. I think growing up on a par 3 course, you get the fundamentals down real quick, and chipping and putting the ball and getting up and down, and so many great memories there. And my grandfather too was pretty instrumental. He was an avid golfer himself, and he was very supportive emotionally and financially as well with me getting into golf, and sent me to the Ledbetter Academy and the Jim Flick School, and some personal lessons with Jim, which all this has made no difference in my game nowadays. But I'm pretty grateful to him, and got to play on the high school team in golf, and actually got burned out after my junior year. It's for anyone who's played competitive golf growing up, you can probably relate. There's probably a point where you're just like, you're over this. I took a break, and in hindsight, I'm super glad I did, because a few years later I fell in love with the game again, and and then befriending Derek certainly poured gas on the fire as well.
Scary. We're peeling layers of the onion back here, so let's just stop right there. Jim,
I thought I saw you crying.
Yeah, it was emotional. I was touched. Let's talk about that. So you're young. You're a young guy. You're pursuing the game. You're falling in love. You're really thinking about maybe, hey, I want to pursue this from a competitive stand. You have the opportunity to get in front of some of the world's best instructors. Talk us through that portion of your life.
It was incredible. I mean, my grandfather had gotten to know Jim Flick a little bit, and was kind enough to take me in at one of his schools a couple of times and work with me individually. And it is so funny, the things that were taught back then that are taught differently now. I remember Jim trying to cut my left wrist a little bit on the backswing at the top, which that's unheard of nowadays almost. And working with Ledbetter was incredible as well. It's you do start to see as a junior golfer whether or not you're going to have the teeth to make it out there. And I absolutely loved the game. I reached a point where I was like, I don't think I quite have it to take it to that next level. And again, I think the getting burned out was a little bit of a blessing, because instead of trying to pursue it in college, I got to just go be normal and not feel like I had to go practice every single day and hours out there. And it's very easy to forget why you play this game, and you forget it's a game when suddenly a 3-footer makes the difference between whether you're on varsity or JV that week and playing at the good course. And it can wear you down, but I'm so glad I stepped away from it, because I just fell in love with it all over again.
I like that. That's awesome. It's a funny sort of game. You can kind of travel away from it, put it on the shelf for a while, not think about it, come back to it, and reignite that passion for it. So you said you met Derek, but that's later in life. So let's stop and let's talk about your passion for music and where this kind of developed, because you're kind of one of those guys that's pretty instrumental. You move the needle in the league of legends, so to speak, in the music industry now. You've had some great experiences.
That's trademarked by Riot Games, so we have to edit that out. But
there we go. But you know what I mean? Like you found your feet, and you've done very, very well. You've been successful. You've opened some great doors and had some great relationships. So talk to us about your passion for music and when that sort of started to develop.
Yeah, it started young, like most people. And it was really in college when I went to visit a friend in New York, and her roommate was interning at VH1. And I was like, oh, you can like do this for a living, like work in the music business? That's so cool. And the following summer, I ended up getting an internship with VH1, and that led to a job after college with VH1 in New York City for a couple of years, and then transferred out to LA and worked for MTV for a couple of years doing talent booking for some of their larger shows like VMAs and movie awards. And
hey, wait a minute. Let's not speed past this. Like, talk to us about the bare bones of this. Is there a little bit of chaos going on? You're meeting some artists.
Oh yeah, it was one of the most stressful couple of years of my life. I mean, my boss was a rock star talent booker, and live television is, I mean, what you guys see when you watch the Grammys or the VMAs or ACM, any of that stuff, you have no idea the absolute pandemonium that goes on, not just that night, but the weeks leading up to the show, and trying to come up with who's performing and what song, and people drop out or get sick, or a host drops out. I was in New York City the night Kanye did the moment with Taylor Swift, and trying to help manage the fallout from all that. I mean, but I'll say, I'm as crazy as working with, big pop artists, hip hop artists and all that was, I'm so glad I did it, because now working in mostly country music, I have such an appreciation for just how much more normal they are. I mean, Hardy's a perfect example who we were talking about earlier. Like it's, there was no playing golf with Kanye West in LA, but in Nashville, it's, Derek, you said it really well the other day about golf being the great equalizer. But yeah, those were a couple wild years with, with MTV. And then, I really wanted to become a music supervisor, which, if anyone doesn't know, that is the person responsible for choosing and clearing the music that gets featured in TV shows, films, ads, video games. And it's a very, very hard thing to get into, but I was pretty lucky that VH1 had an opportunity. So I actually went back to VH1 and was supervising a bunch of shows and some films for them, which was great. I loved it. I mean, it was to be able to so heavily influence the emotion in a scene through music. It's almost like you're DJing Coachella. I mean, I wouldn't know from experience, but to be able to get people to feel the emotion you want to feel and to break new artists is such a fun thing to do. And then my wife and I, we had been in LA for a while. We decided we wanted to change things up. We came out to Nashville and I started working for CMT, doing the same thing, music supervising for them. And that's when I really got into the whole country music world. Had some great years with them, some fantastic people there. And then a spot opened up with Spotify. They were trying to grow their Nashville office here. And that was wild. I mean, it was very different going from an entertainment company to a tech company. A lot of people think, Spotify is just a music company, but the bare bones of that's a tech company. And the way, I laugh when I watch like movies or TV shows about how the inner workings of tech companies work, because it's so true. I mean, they're making fun. It's kind of like Portlandia. They're making fun of these people, but it's actually really true. If you've lived in Portland, it's actually very accurate.
Were you always a country music guy, or was this like an acquired taste later in life? Because working with hip hop and pop artists, this is definitely a different genre altogether.
Yeah. I mean, I loved all kinds of music. I mean, hence I'm wearing a Blind Melon shirt right now, but, I did listen to country, but I wouldn't say I was a huge country fan, until I moved to Nashville and I got steeped into the culture and the songwriter. This is such a songwriter town. I mean, I know Derek really loves all the songwriting things, and he really enjoyed talking to Hardy about all of it. And there's such there needs to be so much more of an appreciation for what these guys and girls do day in and day out, going in, and a lot of them are just kind of spinning their wheels for years, writing great songs that will never get heard, unfortunately. And then a bunch are able to catch lightning in a bottle and get that break. But it's fast. I mean, where I work, I'm lucky we have songwriters there, and I get to watch them in action every day. And I just love walking by there and seeing them in the middle of creating something that you just never know. I mean, it may never see the light of day. It may end up as a B-side for one of our artists. It could end up as a massive single for someone who's not one of our artists. But it's so fun to be able to witness it firsthand. I've been blessed to have a lot of really cool, fun jobs, but I mean, I really couldn't be happier with Big Loud, the artists, the songwriters, the staff. It's just such a magical place to work.
Now, you would trade this all for Derek's job at Rolling Hills, is what I understand. You would love to,
or his calves, either one.
Listen, we talk about this all the time, and one of the things that we when we met, it really became this thing because he has my dream job. So one of the things that I didn't really want to elaborate on, and Paul kind of is Hardy actually asked me questions what I wanted to know. And the thing when we got into this discussion with Austin, who's the CEO of Big Loud, and Paul, I didn't realize the difference between master and publishing. And it's funny when you think you're Hardy, right? And he's touring with Morgan, or you hear Jake and you hear who he's done. He doesn't have any reverence other than respect. But when he talks, what lights him up is who he writes with. And Hardy's job is to write. And I found that fascinating because the thing that I love the most is John Prine, Jason Isbell, guys that Paul gets to kind of be woven into with Big Loud. And, obviously Hardy and Morgan are two of the best there are doing it right now as far as songwriting. You get to really see, like, Hardy's eyes lit up when you talked about a song. He said who wrote it, not who sang it. I thought that was fascinating. He doesn't like to write on Sundays because he doesn't feel he has the proper energy. He needs to break. So he wants to be able to go in Tuesday to Saturday. And it could be a 12 to 16 hour session, depending on what they kick out. And when Hardy and Austin were explaining me the difference between publishing and, if you re-release something, who has the master and who does all of these things, I didn't realize the prevalent thought process behind the writing and the people in the group. And I find it fascinating. And I'm the first to admit, when I first met him, we talked about putting music into film or into television. I can't imagine a better job because, as he said it best, you get to instill emotion into something. And I think that's always the best way to do something. If you can put some sort of emotion without a reaction in it, and it comes out the way you think, then I feel like you achieve something. And Hardy said that same exact thing about songwriting. And like, he knew this, and it's funny because he's got this little twitch in his eye when something excites him. He kind of steps back and he kind of gets real big eyed. And he talked about writing Give Heaven Some Hell. And he just said, we knew it right then. It's like, okay, stop, relax. 1 chorus, 2 chorus, we got it. How do you, I can't, like Paul said something like I made a 2 on a par 4. Like, that's a great, like, I can't fathom what the feeling would be. You're watching, being able to be around people that unbelievably creative, making things that I'm a music guy that would go into that. And I couldn't imagine how thrilling. I mean, to me, watching Paul wear a shirt that he was 11 when the album came out is a little bit funny to me as a music guy, but you got to have an old soul to do what he does. Right. So when I was actually living Blind Melon and watching them play all over for a summer, Paul was in 6th grade playing the par 3, but it doesn't mean he doesn't understand old stuff. So like, I had a long playlist and it had everything from Dwight Yoakam to Gucci Mane on it. And I wanted to do it to watch these 3 music guys to see who they reacted to. Like, I really wanted to see it. And the funny thing is like Hardy would listen and he'd go, like, he would just try and say who it was. And he's like, that's awesome. And then Austin, who people don't realize was in a band, did this whole thing, tried that whole lifestyle. When you had some of the older songs on, like we had Roger Krieger was covering LA Freeways, like he knew everything about it. He told me who wrote it, who did it. I would be a tough guy because you can even tell in this podcast, I would never stop talking about it. I would never stop being part of it, being immersed in that lifestyle of being that creative and helping other people. But like Paul said, Hardy could write something, it could go to Miranda Lambert or it could go to a label. And it's like, it's just different, right? Because they have different ways to look at it after I learned masters versus publishing. So it was very, very interesting. And yes, he can have my job and trade even up any day, anytime, any minute.
Paul, did he pass the interview so far for the internship this summer?
He did. He's hired. He's hired.
There you go, dude.
No, we had a blast. It was really fun for me to, I have history with all 3 of these guys on the trip, but it was great for them to kind of all meet each other. I mean, we actually talk about Derek quite often at Big Loud between Austin and I, not good things, but yeah.
Nor should there be.
Yeah. No, you've been such a great friend. And, it's funny, like Derek mentioned, when we first met, we kind of had each other's dream jobs and we would send each other things from our work that, the kind of stuff that just sits in our office and collects dust that the other person will think is really cool. And I would send him stuff that honestly had really no value to me. But then I would get a box of Callaway clubs in return. I'm like, whoa, Derek, this is not even close to being reciprocal. And he's like, but no, this stuff is just going to sit here collecting dust. It has no value to me. But it was fun for us to kind of give value to each other with things that, we wouldn't really think that much about.
You guys stayed in separate rooms, right, on the trip? Just to
absolutely not.
Okay.
Daryl was it
to start. I mean, and let's be honest, between Austin and I and Paul, it is what it is. We just ended up where we ended up.
So Derek,
we just left Hardy alone.
Well, Hardy was with the cat in his bed. So
yes.
And Derek was outside your room dressed up as an owl. So
yes.
He knows my fetishes.
Somebody's getting a back rub here.
So I have a question going back to you. One of the jobs that you mentioned, you said you play songs in a movie. Is there one that kind of stands out? Like, Crash, Dave Matthews in the movie Joe Dirt, something like that just really stands out that you placed a song it kind of just resonates to this day? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would say there were a couple actually from Macklemore. By a weird fate, I was the first person to place Thrift Shop in anything. And that was kind of a cool moment for me. I mean, I let's be clear, I had no involvement in their success. They went on to get much bigger things, but it was a fun thing for me to see that at least my ear was right, that was going to be a good song. And then a second placement with Macklemore was I got asked to supervise a very low budget indie film. Kind of had a social messaging behind it, and they really had no budget for music, but a song that they had done, I felt like would resonate really well with this film. And the money I was able to offer was nothing. I mean, he wipes his butt with this kind of money, to be honest. And I reached out and I just explained what the film was all about, and they came back saying yes, which was just really cool, because these guys are getting 6 and 7 figure syncs in ads and TV shows, and I think I was only able to give like $500, but they were like, you know what, we like how this song is going to be used, and it's being used in a way that we always thought it would be used, which was pretty cool.
Can you mention that song? Like, I know some of his songs obviously refer to like drugs, and there is some political messages and stuff like that. Do you recall the song or no?
Yeah, you may want to pause the recording while I look this up, because I'm having a brain fart.
By the way, while he looks it up, we were also, when we were at Chris Lane, the next day, Paul met with the most popular show on television talking about the same thing. So, I mean, even though you're not necessarily in that role, you're still very prevalent in that type of things, even if it's just with the label. So I thought it was pretty cool that still has touch, because you're good enough at it that people know that. So I think that it's pretty cool that even when we saw him with Chris Lane and, we were on the bus, it was just like, hey, next day there he is, and he's meeting with, execs of the biggest show on streaming television right now. Yeah,
so the song was Same Love, featuring Mary Lambert. And it was just used in a beautiful way in the film. And, it was something we were all really proud of.
Got it. Awesome. Big Macklemore fan. So is my kid. So I'll be pumped up to hear Macklemore was brought up on the podcast. So.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I got
an aspiring golfer too, right?
Yeah, Bogey Bros. I was gonna say, I gotta know, are you wearing any of the Bogey Bros gear, or is it just straight cricket across the board now?
I think, as much as I would love to show up to Pinehurst with Derek next month wearing a head to toe Macklemore thrift shop getup from Bogey Boys, I would be it would not end well for me.
Hey, listen, I'm on your invite at this one, so you can wear whatever you want, but don't think for a second you're just not going to get ridiculed to the end of the world. But hey, if anybody can pull it off, it's you.
With all that said, Macklemore is a painfully slow golfer. It's painful to watch. I blame him for Jordan not winning at Pebble this year with his slow play. We'll just move on.
If we're gonna talk about Jordan, let's just remind the viewers you gave me a faulty Masters tip.
There's your opportunity. Put the nail in the coffin right now, Paul.
You didn't play the futures on the following event when you bet that. That was your problem.
I actually I got the weeks wrong. That's all.
No. Your heart was in the right place. I mean, Jordan always shows up at Augusta, and that's why I was high on him. I mean, there's just some places it does not matter what kind of form a guy is in. They show up to Augusta and they're able to bring it.
You chip the golf ball like that guy, you're going to have a good chance at Augusta anytime you tee it up. So.
Yep.
I like that, guys. I was looking for the Brissonisms sound. I don't know where it is.
No Brissonisms.
I can't find it on the board right now.
Expired.
Did it?
So Paul, let's move this forward.
Brissonisms brought to you by David Brisson.
There we go.
Pew, 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 pew.
So the last thing that I wanted to kind of ask Paul is, when you talk about what you're doing with Big Loud and you're doing all of these things, let's talk a little bit about Nashville and the cosmopolitan scene that's become. There's going to be a lot of people, obviously, it's become an amazingly fun city to be in. Let's talk a little bit about the golf in Nashville, and obviously you're at the Governor's Club, but let's talk a little bit, Hardy just joined the club. Let's hear a little bit about what's going on in the scene out there. Obviously we know the music scene and the bar scene, but let's talk a little bit of golf because there are some really good tracks in Nashville.
There's some fantastic courses. I will say it, unfortunately, it's a pretty heavy private club area, which, worries me a little bit about growth of the game for the young kids. But there is a fantastic par 3 course down in Franklin, which I've been to a number of times, and they do a great job of growing the game. My kids have taken lessons there. But yeah, I mean, I'm a member at Governor's Club, which is an Arnold Palmer design. It's a tough track. It's probably a 142 slope. I think there's out of bounds on 16 of the 18 holes. Troubadour is definitely the hot course here right now. Discovery property. A lot of country artists and athletes and celebrities have moved in there. I mean, speaking of Fazio, that was a Fazio redesign. Moved a ton of earth and made it a very friendly golf course. I mean, it's not too penal, but extremely easy on the eye. I mean, a lot of great water features. My favorite thing about the course are the comfort stations. As Derek saw this weekend, I am like a fat kid when I get around food, just zero control. And I go into these comfort stations at Troubadour and I clean them out every time. I mean, it's Hurricane Paul coming through that place. But what else? I mean, Jake Owen, one of our artists, is a member at Golf Club of Tennessee. Just a tough track. Really pretty. They do a great job of weaving the course throughout the nature there.
Shout out David Hardwick, long time guy.
Yeah.
I think that place is phenomenal. It's the one I've played out there, and I think David and his team do an amazing job at that golf course. I think it's a really special place.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of other great private courses, but we do have a good public golf system through the city here. There are a number of really great, fun public courses. I mean, it's not uncommon to go out any time of the day at one of those and see buddies, or songwriters or artists, because they're easy to get onto and, accessible and a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, whenever the FOURJACK podcast makes its way out to Nashville, we're going to have a hell of a time.
Can't leave the country.
My whoop band is already frayed, just afraid.
Brisson, what do you got? You're the golf course guy, so I'm looking for your interjection here.
I only know Golf Club of Tennessee and Troubadour. And obviously, I think Troubadour has one of the best hats going in the country right now. They took the shell back, basically $5 China hat, and stitched Troubadour on it, and it's become an internet sensation with a lot of the celebs. But next time Paul's there, he may have to grab a couple of those. But
oh yeah. Anything you need. Yeah. I mean, the logo is great with the music notes and the golf flag. They did a great job.
I'm loyal. I'm loyal to Driftwood. If I'm going Discovery, I'm going Driftwood.
All right.
I don't have 15 million to burn. So
was that an invite?
Absolutely.
I'm only going Driftwood if you net jet me there. I'm not flying commercial to get there.
I like that.
No problem. Southwest, here it comes.
Boys and girls, we're going to transition to the final stage of the interrogation this evening. This is a segment of the show we like to call the Rapid Fire 10, brought to you by our friends over at Cricket Shirts. David, you're wearing a fantastic cricket hat tonight. I just want to point that out for our listeners that can't see this podcast.
It is a cricket hat.
I thought it was Callaway.
No, it's Coppin Wood. Tom Fazio Golf Club, one of two in Canada. Former member, former club champion. Hi, I'm David Brisson.
Looking for a sponsorship? All right, Paul, when you're ready, I have 10 skill testing questions. I'm going to throw it to David for 9, and Derek's going to close out the show. So when you're ready, we're going to start the clock.
LFG.
Question number 1, and this is probably the hardest question of the evening. Paul, what did you have for breakfast today?
Normally I like to have a healthy breakfast that I take my time eating. But this morning I had to get out the door to get a haircut. So I looked muy guapo for you gentlemen. So I wolfed down some Cheerios with some sliced banana on top.
Wow. Okay, I like that. I was expecting like a Miller Lite and
And for those that don't know, he's not lying. So like Paul eats every meal, copious amounts of food at every meal, and still is the Nashville Ken doll. Like it's really frustrating to hang around Paul because it's like desserts come and it's like they all just go to him, or if they're just everything just gets set in front of him because everybody knows he's going to eat it. And here I am looking like a sack of potatoes in a sweater, and Paul's literally on his 8th course of potato chips and pimento cheese, and it's just like it's not even denting. It's like, you know what, F you, don't like you here.
He's not lying. I ate not only my cheesecake but Derek's and Austin's.
Wow, you have this metabolism of a 12-year-old girl. I like this.
Well, when you're walking 25,000 steps for 36 holes, it helps.
Secret sauce.
Some did 54, most just did 36.
Yeah. Disclaimer, I took a cart for the last 18.
Ah, yes. There you go.
That's why I don't have Derek's calves, though.
Save the energy.
Yeah.
Question number 2, the rapid fire, not so rapid fire. What's in the bag right now? What are we swinging? Wrenches, top to bottom, and talk us through your wand.
What's in the bag is whatever Derek hands me down.
So Paul is currently playing an Epic Flash driver with a Jordan Spieth Orange 80i. He's got an unbelievable old school X2 tour-headed Jordan Spieth 80i rocket ship of a 3-wood. I mean, rocket ship. Like you've got to have some talent to play the 3-wood. He's got probably the shittiest hybrid ever known to mankind. It's an old TaylorMade that just hooks off the planet. At least let's get him a brand new TaylorMade. If he's going to play that product, he should at least play the new one, because the one he's got right now, I mean, it starts left and it just ends further left. He's got an amazing driving iron. It's the is it the 21 degree or the 18?
21 utility.
Yeah, 21 utility X from Callaway. He has the Callaway X forged with the KBS C tapers 110s. And then because he has such delicate hands, he has Vokey. He's got the 5s, but he uses wind grips on his wedges so that his
just on the 60, just on the 60,
tiny little sexy little hands reap around these little soft things, and he just velvets underneath with these little SM5s, and then has a rock star putter, absolutely rock star putter.
What are you putting with?
It's an Odyssey 2 ball.
Yeah, something secret, I'm sure.
It's got some tour stuff in it. It's a good putter.
I like that. Do we have a ball preference?
Yes, big fan of both the Chrome X and the Chrome XLS, and you can probably guess why. I'm quite brand loyal to someone on the show.
The cost is right.
The cost is right. I do love the LS, so I actually kind of make it course dependent. If it's when I'm at Congaree, I started with the LS and then switched to the regular X. But at Governor's Club, my home club, a stock 52, I don't know what it is with the greens, I will zip that thing back off the front. So I'll switch to the LS there. But I did, Parksy, I just want you to know, the Stealth, I need to get on a monitor, just compare the two. I want to be Switzerland here. I'm overdue on that. I do keep it in the bag,
Yeah, go ahead and be Switzerland, see how much you get from the other side.
Again, trying to get Venmos for plugging sponsors here.
There we go. Guys. The slot machine is rolling continually. I've heard good things. I've heard bad things. A lot of guys like the Stealth. I'm a huge fan. It's fantastic, but at the same capacity, there's horses for courses. So.
But like any of the new drivers, very shaft dependent. We all know I'm master staff with Callaway, but I'm struggling with the Rogue LS a little bit. It doesn't have the same start line as everything I'm used to hitting from Callaway, so it is very shaft dependent. I'm on shaft 3 on what we're doing. So I think stealth wise, obviously Dontrell, we talked a little bit about this. For those that are obviously very fond of our sponsor, as I am, I sell a lot of their gear. Just make sure you get fitted properly, because the shaft is incredibly important on how to do that.
And actually, to piggyback off that, I had never played nice shafts until Derek helped me out there. And it's the first time I really noticed the difference. I mean, those Tour 80s, I mean, just missiles.
Love that. Briss?
I was gonna jump in and say I just got my 8.0 stealth sent to me, and my ball flight is incredible right now. It's low, and then I decided to let Ben hit my driver with his shaft, and he cracked the face.
No way.
So
Sounds like
it's been hit 6 times, 7 times maybe.
Sounds
But
like
Any comments there, Derek?
That was a good. I love Ben.
and Dontrell.
Ben is now a lifetime master Callaway kid.
Yep, no question. And Dontrell, who will be playing with, when I'm actually taking Dontrell at the Riv on Monday, we'll see if he's on iteration 7.
Got it.
We're just going to close the door on this one. Moving along. Being a music guy, being in the industry, Paul, what is your go-to music on the golf course?
Ooh, I love some Post Malone.
Posty.
Derek had that in his epic 5-hour playlist. I like that. I like to listen to some country, but it also is kind of dependent on who I'm playing with. Like if I'm playing with Austin, we get a lot of classic rock going. Some of our other artists, we get some hip hop going, but I feel like you can just never go wrong with some Posty out there.
I like that. Good tunes, feeling good, playing good. I guess that transitions into the next question. Looking good. Are you an outfit guy? Are you a white belt, white shoes, visor kind of dude? You're the Nashville Ken doll. So what's the go-to look for the golf course?
I'm just waiting for Derek to roast me right now and jump in and say anything. But big thanks to Brisson here for the cricket hookup. Love the shirts. Man, you are a master of ceremonies with those sound effects.
Hitting the wrong ones. That was the owl out front.
Hey, listen, Paul always looks good. The one thing I'll tell you about Paul is every time he wears something, it fits right. Obviously, style's a big part of his job, and he had cricket head to toe on, and then obviously we've sent him some G4 shoes, and the Peter Millar boys have been really good to me on that side of it as well. So he had cricket, looked great, but the great thing about Paul is he wears everything well, right? And Paul has good style. Austin had great style. Hardy will not talk about the squares or the style, but he's a rock star. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But Paul was always and is always properly dressed on the golf course.
Always making me blush.
And the hair is the best part. Like, I know he got a haircut today. I saw it was a little shorter on the sides, but he's one of those guys a little bit like Jake Ryan from 16 Candles. He just wakes up that way. That's the hard part. Like, I woke up looking like Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future when those guys left, and Paul literally wakes up from 3 hours of sleep, and it's just like, oh, I wrestled a bear and he looks like that.
That is not
Pretty
true. I almost slept through our tea time the next morning, but no, I do love Peter Millard. Fantastic stuff. And the Travis Matthew guys, Chris Zeller and Nick D over there have been great to us at Big Loud, including some content stuff with Chris Lane. And yeah, on the shoes, love G4, absolutely love G4. Shout out to Tierney and Sabina over there for taking care of us and our artists, making us look good.
We got to bury Hardy. Honestly, I rag on Faldo tons on the show and the square shoes and the whole hype surrounding the extra yardage, but Hardy's wearing square shoes and he's hitting it.
It pulled him off. Like, he wore him to dinner. Like, literally, like, that's just shit rock stars do. Like, it didn't look dumb. And then he's pounding 3-wood past us. What the hell are we going to say? Maybe Faldo's onto something. Maybe I was actually wrong in making fun of squares, as butt ugly as they are. Hardy didn't have any issue with them. And let's just be honest, he probably has a little bigger bank account than me. So what am I going to say?
I mean, don't be surprised if I get Hardy into the next Squares infomercial.
He could drive a Maybach, but drives a 150.
Still haven't sold out.
But he drives a 3-wood past
I
us.
think, and we've got a couple, and I hope Hardy listens to this because we have a really, really fun gift that'll be coming his way in a couple of weeks.
I like that, boys. Paul, we're on this marathon golf excursion with the team. We're heading into the turn. We're looking to fuel up. What's our go-to snack? Are you a 6-pack of beer and a pack of cigarettes? You a hot dog?
He found the new best snack of all time.
What is it? You got to give
meat pies.
Meat pies.
I know what you're thinking.
What?
You're thinking, why would you do that to yourself?
Eric, what's the rule? No hot, right? On the golf course, marathon golf?
I'm telling you, Congaree has changed the game. The best, I agree with Paul, the best thing I've ever had at the turn is the Congaree sausage meat pie.
All right.
On the second 18, we tried to get more meat pies and they were all out and there was almost a riot.
It is a southern thing. So imagine an old McDonald's apple or cherry pie, but in the middle of it is savory sausage and they put spicy mustard on it to die for.
Wow.
It looks like a McDonald's hash brown is what it looks like, but it's a little bit more pastry like. And the sausage is handmade every day. They make 24 of them. First 24 people get them. You only get one. And they have this unbelievable spicy mustard that goes on them. Without question, the best thing I've ever had at the turn.
Dreamy. Validated, Paul? Yes, you're shaking your head. Yes, you agree?
Confirmed.
And Hardy also liked it, followed by copious amounts of IPAs.
Brisson,
Yes.
this might rival the Burger Dog. So we might
It's better than the Burger
we
Dog.
might have to do this. I like that. All right, guys. Question number 7. Favorite golf course memory, Paul? Something that really resonates, something special you've celebrated on course, maybe a hole in one, maybe watching Derek hit it into the shit and trying to find his ball for him.
Oh, I was getting off on that, trust me. But favorite memory. So I think I was a freshman in high school and I was playing golf with my mom and dad. And my mom was in a greenside bunker and my dad and I were standing up by the green, but my dad was standing almost as if he was tending the pin. And my mom goes, "Larry, what are you doing? Move. I'm trying to hit this bunker shot." He's like, "Lily, just hit the ball. It's fine." She proceeds to blade it out of the bunker right into his groin, right into, that area.
Nice.
He drops to all fours on the putting green, whimpering like a dog that's been shot. And he said, "You can never tell anyone about this."
That's beautiful. Put your heart on.
It was good. Second favorite memory. I was playing at a nice country club with my buddy Tracker, who manages Hardy. And on one of the holes, he tagged a house harder than I've ever heard someone hit a house before. And he absolutely hates practical jokes. So naturally, being Paul Logan, I decide to fuck with him. So I say, "Tracker, I got some bad news, buddy. If you hit a house here, it's $150 fine." And he's like, "Well, fuck that. I'm not paying $150. And I was like, "It's not my rule. I'm just letting you know you're probably going to get hit up about it." And he's like, "Oh my God." So I come home after golf and I create a fake email account and I email him pretending to be the director of golf there. And I say, "Mr. Johnson, it's come to our attention. You struck one of our residences. Please let me know the address where we can send the invoice for $150. And I had copied the actual director of golf signature in the email. And I was expecting him to then text me saying, "Geez, you were right. I just got emailed." No. He calls up to the club, asks to speak with the director of golf, who thank God doesn't answer, and leaves a voicemail to the effect of, "F you, I'm not paying your $150 fine. I don't know why you guys would have such a ridiculous policy." So then he texts me saying, I just went ahead and called up there and left him a piece of my mind. And I'm in full panic mode going, "Oh shit."
There goes
So
my membership.
Yeah. So I had to call up there and apologize. And, but yeah, that was a good one.
I like that.
He's no longer a member of that golf club, folks.
Yeah. He has not been back since.
Nor is Derek, the director of golf.
Perfect. I think that's a pretty minimal fine. I would expect something a little heavier for sure. To get aggressive like that. All right. My last question for you, Paul, before we hand it over to the last two guys to close it out. The cliche question of the evening. We always like to ask our guest the dream 5-ball question. If you could play with anyone, dead or alive, friend, foe, ex, relative, whatever you want to do. You're the 5th. Give us 4 dream golfers you want to spend the day with on the golf course.
I mean, dreamier than you guys? Or?
There it is. I figured that was coming.
Yeah, no, it's such a good question. And I love hearing the different answers your guests give. And because I'm the guest, I'm going to make the rules on this one. And I get to do this like several times.
Okay.
One is going to be friends. And I got to throw my boy D in there. My buddy Jeff Walters back in Oregon. Definitely Austin Adams. And then probably my granddaddy in his prime. I think that would be a lot of fun. Then I think about tour pros, because I know that's like one of the most said things.
Yeah.
And this might be a little out there, but I'm going to say Peter Jacobson. Growing up in Oregon. Yep. Being a Portland kid, Peter Jacobson was huge. He had the Fred Meyer challenge.
He's comedy. He'd be great.
Great musician. Great.
Yes. Musician. Jake Trout and the Flounders, baby. And then I just read, it's old. It's probably 20 years old at this point, but I just read John Daly's biography, which if you haven't read is phenomenal. How that guy still has somewhat of a functioning liver is unreal. So I think that would be fun. I mean, yeah, obviously Tiger, and then coin flip between maybe Jack or Arnie. And then like going the artist angle, I think any of our big loud guys who go off would be fun. I'm Hardy, Morgan, Chris Lane, Ernest, Jake Owen. They're all super fun guys to play with.
Who's the stick out of that group? Obviously, we know who wears the tightest clothes, but who's the best? Who's the best?
That's a good question, though. Is it Jake or Chris who wears tighter clothes? That's a good.
Oh, it's Chris.
For sure it's Chris.
Yeah,
for sure it's Chris. But the stick is Jake. We've gone head to head a couple times. The first time at his place, golf club at Tennessee, and he absolutely schooled me. I mean, humiliated me. And then our second go around, I made probably a 10-foot putt on the last hole to tie it up with him, which felt like a win. I'll take it. I mean, the guy is a scratch golfer. He's been incredibly successful, gorgeous. I mean, if I can hang with that guy for just a teeny bit of time, I will take it.
You got chops, man. Come on.
Yeah. But his ego. I mean, I shouldn't have said all this. I mean, he doesn't need a bigger ego. Come on, Jake.
There you go.
Come on, Jake, get on our podcast.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get him on there. Hey, Briss. Question number 9.
I have some work to do on my end. I have my work cut ready for me.
There you go. It's all yours, bud.
All right. So my question is, you're in Nashville. You're coming to town. You want to order barbecue. You call up Larry Fleet. Where is he telling you to go? Or where are you telling us to go? Best barbecue in Nashville.
Oh, shit. That's tough.
We don't want to disappoint anyone here or break any hearts, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to edit down this silence, because I mean that's tough.
Silence is beautiful.
I'm gonna get the Jeopardy music on one of these buttons here.
So, by the way, Nashville, is that red barbecue sauce? Are you vinegar mustard? What do you got in Nashville while you're thinking about it? I'm not sure of that. What is it burnt ends? Like, what do you got up there? Is it everything?
Honestly, a variety. I feel like Memphis has us actually topped a little bit more in the barbecue. I mean, we have barbecue places here. I don't think you're going to go wrong with any particular place. We're kind of more known for our hot chicken, which I can't mess with anymore. That shit is hot. So actually, yeah, Brisson, I would like to see you down a Nashville hot chicken sandwich and see if you can make your 7 a.m. tea time.
So I had this conversation with Larry Fleet, and he told me there was no way I'd be able to survive if I ate 2. And I took the challenge, and he told me there's no way. If you eat 2 of these things, they're hot ones from, I want to say, I can't remember the place.
Hattie B's.
What's the other
Prince
one?
Prince's?
Oh, Prince.
Yeah.
Whatever their hot is, and I don't do hot well anyway. So 1 was going to kill me. 2, probably you may never heard of me again. So, but it's amazing what 20 beers will do to your ego. So
can we film this challenge?
I think we need to now.
I just want to hang out with Larry. I don't care if he doesn't play golf. I just want to travel with that dude.
We can do that. We have a whole content team. It'll be the David J. Brisson challenge. I want to see if you can even get through 1.
if I can get through one, then you have to do your part on getting Jake on, and I'm out on my half to get the other part on.
Done.
There we
Done.
go.
I'm not allowed to leave the country though. I have COVID, so I'm probably locked up for 500 days here in Canada.
Yeah, 2 weeks you'll be back to new.
Anyways.
Elaine, I'm going to throw it over to you to close out the show. I think we've taken enough of this man's time. He's been very gracious with us. Give him something really tough. Really.
Well, it's funny. I was going to ask him a little bit about his favorite song being placed in a show or movie. Done. I was going to ask him if you would poll the Big Loud office at the Governor's Club from 6,500 yards, who wins, Jake or Paul? We just asked that question. So both of the questions that I was going to ask in a double question have both been asked. So I had one more in reserve because I'm a professional and I do research. My other question, I really want to know, Paul, of all of the music you've listened to, of all of the things you've heard, of all of the artists you see, you and I both know that Isabel's cover is better than Morgan's. It's not up for debate. We both know that there are certain things we disagree on. You know, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. And I'll make sure that my playlist represents that in a couple of weeks. More importantly, I really want to know, what is your all-time favorite song?
Ooh, boy, I'm a big mood guy. I wouldn't say there's one that I turn to a lot, but I have always been a huge fan of Dreaming Tree by Dave Matthews Band. I think being a high schooler growing up in Oregon, it's kind of comes with the territory to like Dave Matthews
That
Band.
is literally the most stereotypical answer I've ever been given on the FOURJACK podcast. Quite possibly the shittiest answer I've ever heard. You might have just said something from your high school band, the Turtles, would have been better than that.
Ooh, the Turtles.
We were actually pretty good.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. So you're going with a Dave Matthews Band wearing a Blind Melon shirt, repping and being a rock star Big Loud.
I will say No Rain by Blind Melon was an all-timer for me.
Second only to Change.
Great.
I mean, November Rain, Guns N' Roses was a big one for me.
Woo!
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Did I save myself? Did I redeem myself a little bit?
You ruined it. Like literally, it's going to be a really desolate year for Galloway product to Nashville. You went to me with Dave Effin Matthews.
I'm like David eating a hot chicken sandwich right now.
Correct. Yeah. And by the way, I'm a big fan of Larry Fleet as well. So well done.
Oh, he's incredible.
That's quite a voice.
Just send us your address, Paul. I got the new TaylorMade TP5s are fantastic.
Send some balls, some wedges, some gloves, some hats. Just send it all. Dave Matthews.
Gas card, ticket to Canada.
Didn't have one Portlandia answer for an hour and 10 minutes, and you end with that turd. Fuck.
Disappointed.
This is tough on the spot. I told you it.
Jesus Christ. You could have said the Tragically Hip, and I would have thought that was better than Dave Matthews.
All right.
I'm going full. I'm going. No, you're done. I'm going full Anthony Bourdain.
Edit this.
Fuck all of them. I'm out. You guys can have
this.
It all. Go to the gorge and do what you're gonna do.
Oh, wait. I have it. Because I was on the spot. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but Right Now by Van Halen. I mean, all timer.
Sammy.
All timer.
So you're going to make that up with a Van Halen song sung by Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
You couldn't be going down the tunnel and the tube fast enough. You're like the sign that everything goes into the ocean right now. I feel pity for Big Loud, knowing that they have one of the 5 biggest people in American country music has 2 shitty songs as their favorite song.
Luckily, I'm not one of the 5 biggest, so I'm safe.
Oh, there's no. That's not what Austin told me.
Yeah.
But anyway, God may God have mercy on your soul.
Paul, I get it. Paul, I get what it's like to be a 1%er.
Thank you.
You know when the top 5 is that.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. We're going to give our guest the opportunity to redeem himself, or at least try and crawl back to the surface here. Hockey team, Paul. Can you give us a hockey team? This is it, though. We're gonna sever the connection if it's not something decent.
Am I allowed to say go Preds? Or am I going to get made fun of because it's not a Minnesota team?
No. You're good. It's funny, too, because Boston got beat tonight. The Kings and the Edmonton Oilers are on right now. Wild are up 2-1.
By the way,
it was hard not to puck talk tonight with the three of us, Paul, but I didn't want to lose you on that.
The Preds are out though, by the way. So
Yeah. Story of our lives.
Fitting answer to the way this podcast ended.
There we go. Well, we'll end it on a super low note. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure, I guess. Thanks so much. We probably won't.
I love you so much, Mr. Logan. Thank you so much for being on here. Absolutely.
I've never had less fun than this, boys. Thank you.
We will literally see you in 3 weeks, and we'll get some more content, but I hopefully can play a little better for you. I don't like the disappointment you had me in those last 3 days.
No, like I said, watching you struggle, it shows you're human.
Humility. I love it.
I struggled as well. Yeah, Pinehurst will be fun. It'll be great, and hopefully we'll have some more good stories after that.
Yeah, you guys have fun at Pinehurst. Briston and I will hang out here and have COVID together. That'll be quite enjoyable. Yeah, whatever. That's great.
How are you guys going to give it to each other?
There's an owl outside my window. Apparently, that's how it transmits here in Canada. I know nothing about this. Anyway, Paul, in all seriousness, you're a fantastic human being. Thank you so much for everything you do. Big Loud has been awesome and gracious with their artists, and we can't thank you enough for creating those opportunities for us and spreading the gospel for us. And we look forward to more opportunities with you and the team and more experiences. And it's been a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Thank you so much for all you guys do for Big Loud, having Dallas on and Hardy and Chris. And it's, I mean, our guys just love golf. So this is just a really great fun outlet for them.
And soon to be Jake.
That's right. That's right. We'll get him on. He's going
to do it.
David?
And my content with Larry.
Yes.
And the chicken challenge, the hot chicken challenge with Larry. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic evening. All the best and good luck at Pinehurst. See you soon.
See you guys. Thanks again.